Okay. I think I got this going. Still don't know what I'm doing. But let me just verify real quick. We're going to start off here with this funny video I just saw on Twitter. I don't know who has time to put these things together. I guess if you're really good at editing, you can whip these up pretty fast. But verify real quick. Oh, yep. Okay, I apologize about that. All right, I think this is working. Sweet. Give me 1 second. Man. All right, watch this video. It's funny.
Good morning. I'm here to give you an update on the FBI's investigation of Secretary Clinton. What I want to do is tell you what we're recommending. But first, let me tell you what we found. 110 emails, 52 email chains have been determined to contain classified information.
What difference at this point does it make?
8 of those chains are top secret, 36 of those chains secret, and 8 contain confidential information.
What difference at this point does it make?
Everything I did was permitted. There was no law, no regulations.
Secretary Clinton should have known that an unclassified system was no place for that conversation.
I did not email any classified material to anyone on my email.
None of these emails should have been on any kind of unclassified system, not even Gmail.
Well, first of all, nothing was marked classified.
To the contrary,
Nothing was marked classified.
there is evidence of a
Nothing was
tremendous
marked.
amount.
Nothing was marked classified.
Now let me tell you what we found.
Oh my God.
110 emails.
It was not the best choice.
52 email
It was
chains
a mistake.
have been determined to contain classified information.
What difference at this point does it
8
make?
of those chains are top
It wasn't
secret.
the best choice.
36 of those chains
I said it
secret.
was a mistake.
And 8 contain confidential information.
What difference at this point does it
With
make?
respect to our recommendation, this is going to be an unusual statement in at least a couple of ways. Although there is evidence, our judgment is that no reasonable prosecutor would bring such a case.
Of course.
I know there will be intense public debate. I know there will be intense public debate. I know there will be intense public debate. What difference at this point does it make? 110 emails.
It wasn't the best choice.
52 email chains
I made a mistake.
have been determined to contain classified information.
What difference at this point does it
8
make?
of those chains are top
It was not a
secret.
good choice.
36 of those chains
I said it was a mistake.
and 8 contain confidential information.
What difference at this point does it make?
It's pretty funny. I don't know who put this together. I saw it on Twitter from Jack Soba. Oh, it's this dude, Jordan. Someone for Trump. Either way, that is pretty funny. I thought you'd enjoy that. I'm not even going to talk about the Trump thing. We all know that Trump got his home raided, or I don't know if it's his home, Mar-a-Lago. Who knows? I have no idea. Maybe he's guilty of something, maybe he isn't. But to pretend it's not political is silly. But we'll see. I have some theories as to why they would do that outside of the political realm. Meaning they're concerned, the Democrats are concerned about the elections in November. Typically, I think these agencies, they have a self-interest in keeping and maintaining and growing their power. And perhaps he had something that would challenge that in some way, shape, or form. I have absolutely no idea. Maybe it was serious. Moving on. You guys remember this? Shoot, this was about a year ago. Alec Baldwin accidentally killed a photographer or cinematographer while filming a movie. He claimed he did not pull the trigger, and 10 months later, the FBI finally figured out that nope, he had to have pulled the trigger for a gun to shoot. Who would have thought? No clue why that would take 10 months to figure out. I'm not even a gun expert, but it would take me probably 5 to 10 minutes at the most to figure out if that gun was capable of being fired without pulling the trigger. That's pretty funny. All right. This is also pretty funny. I shared this meme on Facebook. I don't know if it's a meme. This picture says, this has to do with the whole IRS agents that are being hired. They're hiring about 87,000 new IRS agents. And this is just a visual for you to understand the scope of how many people that is. This stadium holds 86,112 people. And even this is not big enough to hold the new 87,000 IRS agents coming after you. And when you see it, you're like, wow, yeah, that is a lot of people. That's all this was intended to do. And of course, Facebook put a fact check on this, which is hilarious. Actually, it was missing context is what they say. And any post on social media can be missing context. Typically your posts are a paragraph or two to try to get a point across. I mean, of course, everything could be missing context. Books can be missing context. We'll get to the fact check in a minute, but before I do that, this was a job posting that the IRS had out there, and this is what conservatives were going crazy about. I don't know, some at least. Not this first bullet point, but let's just go through it real quick. Adhere to the highest standards of conduct, especially in maintaining honesty and integrity. If you had any integrity, you wouldn't be working for the IRS, in my opinion. Work a minimum of 50 hours per week, which may include irregular hours, 24/7 on call, holidays, weekends, etc. Maintain a level of fitness necessary to effectively respond to life-threatening situations on the job. Carry a firearm and be willing to use deadly force if necessary. What? Be willing and able to participate in arrests, execution of search warrants, and other dangerous assignments. So they subsequently took this posting down for applicants willing to, quote, use deadly force. I'm not exactly sure why they took it down, but I think they were getting a little bit of backlash. But it's known that they will use force if necessary if you don't pay your taxes. And that's what tax collectors are. That's what they do. So let's go to this fact check real quick. The GOP skews budget bill's impact on IRS taxes. And this is the actual fact check that it linked to in Facebook to prove that picture apparently was misleading or missing context. So the bill to hire 87,000 IRS agents was part of the Inflation Reduction Act, which is hilarious as well. Let's spend and create more money out of thin air to reduce inflation. Okay. By the way, inflation, people use that term to mean price inflation, but what it originally means is monetary inflation. You inflate, you increase the volume or the creation of money, and the impact it has is increased price inflation. So the idea that they're going to increase the monetary supply, which is inflation, is going to reduce inflation, price inflation, is bonkers. But In any case, let's see. It would increase the ranks of the IRS, but it would not create a mob of armed auditors looking to harass middle-class taxpayers, as some Republicans are claiming. While experts say corporate tax increases could indirectly burden people in the middle class, claims that they will face higher taxes are not supported by what is in the legislation. And then they go on to quote a couple people here. House Minority Leader Kevin McCarthy saying that if you make less than $75,000, these new agents will be coming for you. 710,000 new audits for Americans earning less than 75,000. Ted Cruz says it's going to target everyday regular Americans. The facts. Here's the facts. Give it to me, the AP. What are the facts? That's misleading, they say. Last year, before the bill emerged, the Treasury Department had proposed a plan to hire roughly that many IRS employees over the next decade if it got the money. Oh, wow. Wow. You mean to tell me a department of the government had plans to increase its employees if it had the money? What? Shocking. That is shocking. Every government agency wants to increase the number of employees it has if it got the money. Okay, that proves nothing or disproves nothing. That clears nothing up. The IRS will be releasing final numbers for its hiring plans in the coming months, according to a Treasury official. But those employees will not be all hired at the same time. Yeah, no kidding. This is so stupid. These fact checks are so stupid. They will not all be auditors, and many will be replacing employees who are expected to quit or retire, experts and officials say. Guys, we're adding 87,000 employees, but some of those are going to replace retiring employees or people who quit. Yeah. Oh. Listen, they think you're stupid. They're adding 87,000 employees. Yeah, they're probably going to hire 100,000 and replace the 13,000 that quit or retire. That's so stupid. There's nothing. They tell me nothing in this paragraph. The IRS currently has about 80,000 employees, so this bill more than doubles the IRS, including clerical workers, customer service reps, enforcement officials, and others. Yeah, of course, they're not all 87,000 are auditors. But you have to be a moron to think that the number of audits aren't going to increase. The agency has lost roughly 50,000 employees over the past 5 years due to attrition. Okay. More than half of IRS employees who work in enforcement are currently eligible for retirement. Okay. This has nothing to do with anything. Budget cuts, mostly demanded by Republicans, have also diminished the ranks of enforcement staff, which fell roughly 30% since 2010, despite the fact that the filing population has increased. The IRS-related money in the Inflation Reduction Act is intended to boost efforts against high-end tax evasion. Again, there's nothing they're clearing up here. The $80 billion will also pay for other improvements, such as revamping the agency's technology. Okay, of course, sure. The Treasury says it will hire experienced auditors and workers who will improve taxpayer services, and that audit rates for those earning less than $400,000 are not expected to rise in relation to historic norms. See how slippery they are? So first off, what they're saying is the percentage increase for those making less than 400,000 is not expected to rise. Well, the number of audits certainly will increase, and the percentage is not expected to rise. So that's a long way from hiring 87,000 agents to go after average people in the United States, as the GOP claims have it. In any case, the bill has no mandate to hire that many people. If they have approval and the money to hire that many people, of course they will. Every government agency wants to expand its power and influence. I mean, yeah, there's no mandate to. Do you think they're not going to hire anyone? And even if this was true, even if it's not when they say it's not expected to rise, that's still funny to me. But even if that's true, even if the percentage were the same, can't you think, I don't know, 3-5 years down the road and see what this is turning into? Use your imagination. Where do you think this is going? If you're going to double the number of employees in the IRS to harass everyday people who have side hustles or something. Now, I'm not saying people should be avoiding not reporting their income taxes. But all of the millionaires and billionaires and all these people in the large corporations, my guess is more than 95% of them are doing everything above board. They can afford accountants and lawyers to pay the least amount of tax that they possibly can legally. And when an IRS agent or a group of agents were to go audit a high net worth individual or a large corporation, these things take a while because the tax code is ridiculously complex. But I guarantee they're doing this stuff legit. At least most people. I mean, yeah, is there a handful of people out there who are just completely not paying taxes or, being completely shady about the whole process? Yeah, probably, I guess. But you have to be an idiot to think that they're not going to go after regular people. Anyways, that's enough about this. This fact check is so stupid. All they do is run cover for people in power. It's nauseating, and this is what you get with AP and these large news outlets. It's just crazy. So finally, I wanted to share this video, completely switching gears. This was a interview that Clint Russell from Liberty Lockdown had with Mike Seymour Mack. Now, I've been listening to Clint for the past year or so on his podcast and YouTube videos, and he's pretty good. Never heard of this guy before. And in fact, didn't know anything about him. But I happened to catch this live stream, and this was in March of this year. So this is, I don't know, 4 or 5 months ago. And so some backstory about me. I'm a Christian. If you can't tell that I follow Clint, if you've seen the logo I have for my channel, which I've had probably for 7-8 years, it's the V for voluntarism or voluntarist. I believe everything should be voluntary, which deserves its own separate video. I'm sure there's plenty of stuff out there, but it sounds like a very simple concept, but it has radical ramifications if you apply it consistently. In any case, and in fact, this is what this flag is behind me I'm an anarchist, right? I'm a Christian anarchist, and that's what this flag is here behind me, in case you're curious. And this guy started sharing his story and about the COVID lockdowns and the immense pressure he had to get the vaccine, despite him not wanting to do that. And he refused to do it and was basically on the verge of losing his job, caused a lot of stress, a lot of mental anguish. And I'm kind of jumping in the middle here, but I just want to listen to like 5 minutes of this or so. And it's just an awesome story. And so let's just dive right into it here. Oh, I will say, up to this point, he was realizing that this stress was building up inside of him, and thought he had to do something about it. So he actually went to a therapist for about a month or so, and a month later, he felt absolutely no different. It was not working, right? So we're jumping here. I think I'm at a good spot here. Let's see what he says.
You know, I realized that I was starting to deal with a level of stress and anxiety and depression that I have never felt in my life, and frankly thought I was just too man to feel or never have to deal with, And I decided, well, I got to go talk to somebody. So I started talking to a therapist every week.
Oh, that's what
I
I
did
just
that
said.
for about a month, and after about a month, I was feeling exactly the same. I was laying up. I would go to bed, let's say at midnight. I wouldn't actually fall asleep till about 3 o'clock in the morning, 4 o'clock in the morning, because I'm just staring at the ceiling, just wondering what's going to happen. How am I going to feed my family? How am I going to pay my I just bought a brand new freaking truck, like 6 months ago. It was like a freaking $700 a month payment, Like, how the hell am I going to pay for this truck? How am I going to keep food on the table? How am I? My wife is a full-time nursing student right now, So right now we're only really working on one income,
Right.
and that's in jeopardy. So the effect that I can only imagine how this is affecting, my coworkers and people who are in a similar situation, because I know how tough that I thought I was and how it ultimately started affecting me.
Yep.
And, I decided like, hey, I need to take some time off here. So I actually used some of my benefits that I pay into my company for the last 12 years to go out on some short term, just spend time focusing on trying to focus, because I was unable to.
So he worked for the same employer for 12 years, it sounded like. Yeah, that's some commitment, man. And then to have your employer turn around and essentially say, if you don't take this vaccine, you're not going to be able to work for us anymore. And man, it's just heartbreaking, dude. Like, and this guy's not alone. I mean, we all know, if you've lived through the last 2 years, this happened to countless people, and it's really unbelievable.
To focus for like more than 5 minutes at a time, because I was still going to work, working on projects, and I enjoy what I do in my current position, and I wasn't even able to like sit more than 5-10 minutes at a time before I would just start worrying about what's going to happen in these coming months. So I went out on short term, and against my better judgment, instead of like taking a longer stint of short term, I said to myself, let me just take a month, with the hope that in a month of being able to just talk to the therapist, being home with my family, just being able to figure this thing out, that I'll be good. Right. And here we are. I'm still in the same position, Now, I put in for an extension, and they denied it. They said, well, we don't believe that this warrants you staying out on short term any longer. So now, I don't know. I don't know what's going to happen now. Obviously, I'm going to appeal it, because, I'm in the same situation. And if I have to go back, I have to go back. But I'm losing my job in a few weeks anyway. So it's almost like, what's the freaking point? What's the point for them to deny it, really? But so it's just hard, man. So that hasn't made things easier. And but I will say this: there is one silver lining that I could say in this whole.
So, yeah, I probably should have started it here, because I kind of brought you up to speed on some of that, but let me just continue.
Entire process and going through this. This has pushed me to God. This has brought me to let Jesus Christ into my life. You know, I was raised by a Jewish mother, an Irish Catholic father, both of them hippies. So we never were forced to do anything. You know, we didn't go to church, we didn't go to synagogue when we were younger. And I never thought that I would be here in this position where I'm reading the Bible. I'm praying on a daily basis multiple times. I'm having conversations with people like my older brother who's got his own long history of dark days and then getting out of them with the help of God and Jesus Christ. So if there is one silver lining in this whole thing, this thing has pushed me to realize that I couldn't get out of this on my own. After a few weeks of doing therapy and being on short term and realizing like, oh, I'm still in some really, really dark times here. How the hell am I going to lift myself out of this? And I just had an epiphany one night. My older brother who donated got married in February, you know, and through that process, I was actually, I do video editing. So I edited his wedding video. So I had to listen to his speech over and over again. I had to listen to my speech that I gave over and over again with the music, you know, like the perfect music in the background. And I'm literally editing this video for hours, just crying, just weeping, you know, and it hit me. I said, my brother was dealing with some of the darkest shit that he has ever dealt with, you know, in and out of prison, dealing with addictions. We got in a really bad car accident in '04, and he broke he had to relearn how to walk. I mean, this is a story for another time, but I saw him 12 years. He was battling these demons, these addictions and all of this, and he got out of it. And then I'm watching this video and I'm going, this is how, man. This is how I could lift myself up out of this with the help of God or the help of Jesus Christ, specifically for me. So,
Man, so that's awesome. I'm gonna play a couple more minutes of this because his story of going to church is pretty cool. But yeah, man, when you hear just people's stories and their families and the struggles people go through, you know, you never know who's struggling with what. Yeah. I mean, that goes for anywhere you go, man. People are hurting out there. I mean, and again, especially in these last couple years with the COVID craziness. And I got to say, the company I worked for did not do any of this unless they had to by law. And I'm thankful for that because I did not take this vaccine, had no desire to do that. I did get COVID real bad last year. I was sicker than I ever been. And then I felt like I had natural immunity, so there's definitely no reason to get this vaccine. But man, I can't imagine the stress of dealing with that. Let's continue with the final part of his story here.
the one silver lining is that, man, this has made me realize that there's something greater and that maybe I don't have to carry all of the stress and all of the weight of this on my shoulders, that, you know, there's something that could actually help me with that. And it's not
Beautiful.
it's not smoking weed 5 times a day, it's not drinking every single night, it's not, you know, just falling into some other addiction, which I'm thankful that I haven't done, you know. So it's just it's been a blessing, man. It's really been a blessing. And I have my brother Brian, I owe him the world for that. I went to church for the first time in my adult life with him a week ago, and it was an amazing experience. I mean, church is not for everybody, and I think I went to Catholic church a couple times when I was a kid, and that was weird. But I was also a kid, so I didn't understand.
Sure.
But this church was nice, man. The church with no borders in Medford, New Jersey. I believe it's in Medford. Amazing people there. They already kind of knew me because they knew I was Brian's brother, and they saw me in the wedding video, and everybody was coming up to me saying it was amazing. And you know, so they start playing the music in the beginning, and I'm like, wow. I'm like, you know, you see a lot of people like they're really, really into it. I'm like, okay, that's a little strange. And I see other people who are just like more reserved, and I'm like, all right, that seems more my speed. And then I'm hearing.
So yeah, for what it's worth, that's more my speed too. That is funny. I always think if someone's new to church and they come in and see, I mean, you know, people worship differently, and there's nothing wrong with that. I've just never been that expressive. You know, it's funny. I used to, well, this is kind of off topic, but I used to go see a lot of bands play when I was younger. Every weekend, I just go to some hole in the wall place, watch bands play. And I just love seeing live music. And even at some of these shows I was at, you know, I was pretty reserved. I would just, you know, be sitting there nodding my head. Um, anyways, and that's kind of how my personality is, I suppose. But it's funny, funny for him to see the people raising their hands, and he's like, "Whoa, that's pretty crazy." All right, let's listen to the last part of this.
My brother kind of singing under his breath a little bit, and then I'm fighting back the tears because it's starting to get to me. And then the pastor gives the whole sermon, right? And I'm fighting back the tears because everything is exactly what I need to hear about finding a family, you know, like kind of like a church to go to in my own town. And like, it was just perfect. It was exactly what I needed. And then at the end, you know, we're going to close out with some more worship music, but we're going to have some people up here to help pray with you if you need somebody to help you pray and this and that. And immediately when he said that, I felt it in my heart. Like, I have to go up there and I have to ask these people to help me pray because I don't know what the hell I'm doing. And I didn't do it right away because some lady went up there and she seemed like she really needed it. She was up there for a while. So then I wound up like almost not doing it. We were walking out and my brother stopped to talk to this lady that he knows. And while he's talking, I'm just playing the background. And I'm like, you know what? Let me just look in there and see if that lady's done and maybe I can go up there. And I look in and she's just walking away. And on the right there's the pastor's wife. I can't remember her name. And this guy, Eric. And I go walk up to them. And I say, I'm like, you know, I was just wondering if you could help me pray. And she goes, yeah, what's going on? And I'm like fighting back the tears right now. She goes, and as soon as she said that, I just start crying, man, like uncontrollably bawling my eyes. I'm 38 years old. This is embarrassing to do this in public. And, you know, I slowly get the strength to tell them everything I just told you, the whole position that I'm in with my family, what this means. And they start praying over me, man. And Eric's praying in one ear, and she's just, you know, just verifying everything. Yes, Jesus. Yes, God. Thank you. You know, look over Mike. Look over his. And I'm crying. And not only that, my legs are shaking so much that they're about to buckle.
Wow.
And in that moment, I remember watching videos on YouTube of these people at church feeling the Holy Spirit. You know, the Holy Spirit's been activated and they're like falling on the floor and they can't walk. And I'm not talking about like the fake evangelicals are like, touch your head and Jesus is taking the gay out of you. And then all of a sudden they're like falling on the floor and they're straight and all this shit. I'm not talking about those. I'm talking about people who like really seemed like they were probably going through something, but I didn't believe it. I was like, that's bullshit, man. There's no way that's true. In that moment, I realized, oh, these people are serious, man. Like, this is what they felt. And I've never felt anything like that in my life, man. And I'll tell you, man, I never thought that I would be telling this story, you know.
Oh, man, what a powerful story. Yeah, man, when I was watching this live as I was doing chores around the house one night and then just stopped and was engulfed into what he had to say in his story. Oh, man, it's just so awesome. I should look this guy up and see how he's doing. I mean, this was all fresh in his mind. This was a week after this experience he had. And it's just encouraging to hear and, you know, to know that people's lives are being changed. You know, I'm going to pray for this guy and his family. And, you know, I sympathize with the situation he's in or was in, you know, being the breadwinner for his family. And in any case, I wanted to end on a positive note. I thought this was just an awesome story and something that needed to get out there. And, you know, I listen to a lot of podcasts, watch a lot of YouTube shows like this. And there are these moments where I kind of mentally remember them. It took me a couple minutes to go back months ago and find this, but I have a few more of these that are just really cool stories or really good points. It's not all this. Just sometimes they're just brilliant observations that are worth kind of expounding upon or just getting out there. So, in any case, that's all I had for today. I hope you enjoyed that. If nothing else, these live streams make me feel better just kind of talking into the abyss of YouTube. But anyways, thanks for watching. I might do this every Sunday night. We'll see how this goes. But anyways,